Woohoo, we're live. This is Math 60, chapter 5.1, page 5, hopefully 6. Let's see how long this takes us because these are the problems. This is what we've been working our way up to. I'm going to take these more complicated problems and really do some interesting things with exponents. I know you guys, I can tell you guys are all very excited. I'm moving Spider out of the way because he's in the splash zone. And let's see. Okay, so now, some of you, and because we're in a classroom, you can't give it away. Some of you might be noticing something about this problem. And that's a good thing to notice. But in case you're not noticing it, that's okay too. I'm going to pretend I don't notice it, even though I wrote this. And I'm going to go ahead and simplify. So what I'm going to do is I see I got a bunch of exponents on the outside. I got exponents on the inside. I'm going to give everybody this -2 inside of here, and I'm going to give everybody this 2 outside of here. Okay, so this is going to be 2 to the -2, a to the -1 to the -2, b cubed to the -2. That's my first set of 3. They all get -2. And then I get 2 squared, a to the -1 squared, b cubed squared. That's my second factor there. Okay, give myself a big fat equals. I'm very excited about this. Okay, let's see. I get 2 to the -2 is 1/4. A to the -1 to the -2. Remember, I multiply in this case. 1 base, 2 exponents. We're going to multiply. A to the -1 times -2 is 2. B cubed to the -2, I multiply, I get b to the -6. Okay, over here, 2 times 2 is 4. A to the -1 squared, I multiply, I get a to the -2. And b cubed squared, I multiply, and I get b to the 6th. Okay, some interesting things happening here. I'm going to, because this is all multiplication, I've got the commutative property that tells me that I can move all this stuff around. So I'm going to move the 1/4 times 4, a squared times a to the -2, b to the -6 times b to the 6th. Okay, 1/4 times 4 is 1, or 4 over 4, which will be 1. A squared times a to the -2 is a to the 2 plus a -2. B to the -6 times b to the 6th. Ooh, I ran off the side of the road. Sorry about that. B to the -6 times b to the 6th is b to the -6 plus 6. Okay, 4 over 4 is 1. A to the 2 plus -2 is 0. B to the -6 plus 6 is 0. Now, in this chapter, go ahead and assume that variables do not equal 0, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to simplify this. Assume these are non-zero, in which case anything except for 0 to the 0th power is 1. So we've got 1 times 1 times 1. The whole expression is 1. That's very exciting. So what happened? Why did everything cancel completely out like that? The answer is, if you look very closely out at the original problem, you'll notice that these two things inside, the expressions inside the parentheses, match exactly. And this is to the -2, and this is to the +2. So I chucked 2 of these down in the denominator. This thing squared in the denominator. This thing squared in the numerator. They all cancel out. So it's kind of cool. If you noticed that right up front, nicely done. If you didn't, you're totally with me. I would never have noticed that. I would just work all the way through it and be like, oh, look at a surprising answer. Okay. Are you guys excited? Now, why am I excited? I'm excited because this next problem is the kind of problem that I have a bad habit of putting on my finals. I love these because this problem allows me to check so many things at once. I can check all your understanding of exponents. So the first thing I'm going to do is write it bigger because, again, my webcam is a little bit cranky, so it's not focusing very well. Okay, so there are 2 ways to approach this, and you get to choose exactly how you're going to do it. You can simplify inside first and then apply the fourth power on the outside. You could give out the fourth power to everybody first and then simplify. Now, personally, I really prefer to simplify on the inside, so that's what I'm going to do. So, okay. So if I look at just the constants, -4/6, I'm going to cancel 2. So I got a -2 up here and a 3 down there. Now I look at the x's and I say, where are the x's happier? And I realize the x's are really happier. There are more of them up top. So I'm going to do x to the fourth up top. And then I'm going to subtract the -1 that gets moved up. See that? I'm subtracting the -1. Okay, same thing with the y's. They're happier downstairs, vampires. There are 4 of them downstairs, y to the fourth. And then there are 2 of them upstairs, y squared. And so I'm going to subtract the 2 that we're moving. I have yet to use the 4, so I leave the 4 on the outside. It's just waiting its turn. So now I've got, let's see, -2 x to the fifth all over 3y squared. That whole thing to the 4. Oh, yet again, I forgot to move it up. I'm so sorry. I get, you know, when you just get carried away and you lose yourself in the math, it's just such a beautiful thing. Okay, so I've got the -2/3 right here. Then x to the 4 minus a -1. 4 minus a -1 is 5. And then 4 minus 2 is 2. Now I have to give out the 4 to everybody. So let's Oprah that 4. The -2 gets a 4. The x to the fifth gets a 4. The 3 gets a 4. The y squared gets a 4. So now, -2, the quantity to the fourth power, is going to be a +16. When there is an exponent inside and an exponent outside, you multiply. So this becomes x to the 20th. 3 to the fourth. And a lot of people have trouble with fourth powers. That's basically 3 squared squared. So 3 squared is 9. 9 squared is, you got it, 81. And y squared to the fourth, you multiply these two and you get y to the eighth. Bam. And we're done with that problem. I'm very excited. Are you very excited? We've got one more problem left in 5.1. So I'm going to totally do it on this recording. Now, of course, if we're all the way done with most of the chapter, this is going to be the death problem. Yay, let's hear it. And in honor of our deadly problem, let me go ahead and rewrite it. 4x, y to the -1, c to the -4. So, again, I want to point out that I personally like to reduce inside and then apply the exponent. But because I did the last problem that way, let me show you this one as giving out the -2 right up front. There are a bunch of different ways to do these problems. You're welcome to do them however it makes the most sense. But I want to show you what this flavor looks like. So in the first case, it's a little complicated because everybody gets a -2. And you can see a little bit of why I put a cross and cross my Z's, and that's because, 2's are just flying everywhere. Everybody gets a -2, top and bottom, which is somewhat unexpected. I know that a lot of times you only apply it in one place or another place. Everybody gets a -2. Notice even the constants get -2s. Okay, so I've got 8 to the -2, x to the -2, y to the 2 exponents, I'm going to multiply -4. Z to the -2 to the -2, multiply, I get z to the +4. Down in the denominator, 4 to the -2, x to the -2, y to the, oops, y to the -1 times -2, y squared. And then z to the -4 times -2 is z to the 8th. So far, so good? Okay. So you've got a couple of options. There's a lot going on. One thing you might notice is that these two match exactly. If anything matches exactly, you can cancel that sucker. So that one's getting canceled out. What you might choose to do, and this is yet another way to approach these. I mean, there are lots of different ways, but another way to approach this is anyone with a negative exponent, just put them where they want to be. 8, total vampire. Let's put it downstairs. 4, not a vampire. Put it back upstairs. See how they were both unhappy and we fixed them. They're also happy now. The x is canceled. This y squared is perfectly happy to be downstairs, but this other y wants to join it. I mean, true love, right? This is the best. These two y's both want to be vampires together. And look at how the z's are perfectly happy to be where they are. Okay. And again, you might notice that I am going very slowly through, and there are a lot of ways that you can reduce that I'm not taking advantage of because I'm trying to be very slow and careful. But you're welcome to use any of those other canceling methods. 4 squared is going to give me 16, z to the 4th. Down here, I've got 8 squared is 64, y to the 6th, z to the 8th. And now I have to figure out how to reduce. It turns out that 16 goes into 64. And they cancel, and I get 1/4. And then the y to the 6th doesn't have any friends to cancel with. Now the z's, there are more of them downstairs. I'm going to take the 8 that were downstairs and subtract the 4 that I'm moving. And I end up with 1/4 y to the 6th, z to the 4th. Bam, we're done. 5.1 is done. You know everything about exponents. Woohoo! Next up, we're going to learn about scientific notation. Woohoo!